The teleportation pad crackled again, a low hum that vibrated through the soles of Mika Hargreaves' boots. Sparks danced along the edge, and the acrid scent of ionized air made her eyes water. She clutched her duffel bag instinctively, only to find it hovering about 8 inches above the pad. Her stomach churned as she fought the nausea from her first interstellar transport. "Oh," she muttered, voice shaking slightly. "That's new." A voice cut through the haze, a strange, musical gurgle that seemed almost like wind chimes being stirred by water. First interstellar transport? Blinking the stars from her vision, Mika found herself staring at a tall, thin figure. 3 vertically aligned eyes regarded her with cautious curiosity, and transparent blue-tinted skin allowed her to see the slow pulse of fluids inside its body. It wore a crisp uniform adorned with glowing insignia, and a faint hum surrounded its chest. A personal shield generator, almost certainly. Yes, Mika answered, realizing she was still clutching empty air where her bag should be. She snatched the floating duffel and tried not to appear disoriented. First time off Earth, actually. The alien flinched at the mention of Earth, tapping something on its wrist device that made the energy barrier between them flicker. "I am Administrator Plex," it said carefully, stepping back. "Welcome to Galactic Preparatory Academy. Your presence here is historic." Thanks," Mika murmured, tucking a wild strand of auburn hair behind her ear. The administrator's nervousness made her uneasy. "Yes, follow me please." At a distance of at least 6 feet. The hallways twisted in ways that defied ordinary geometry, each section slightly shifting gravity. Through transparent walls, Mika glimpsed classrooms filled with beings of every conceivable shape, size, and state of matter. Some floated in tanks, others slithered along floors, a few seemed to exist partially in dimensions she couldn't even perceive. "This is amazing," Mika whispered. Administrator Plex's tentacles, or what she assumed were tentacles, pulsed slightly. "We pride ourselves on accommodating all galactic citizens, even those from challenging environments," it said, voice tense. The word challenging hung in the air, strange and judgmental. Plex led her to a door that shimmered like liquid metal. "Your dormitory assignment. The housing coordinator will take over here. Disclose any environmental needs to prevent unfortunate incidents." Before Mika could ask what that meant, Plex was gone, shield generator still humming. Miss Trill, the housing coordinator, appeared next, a small amphibious being 4 feet tall, with bulbous eyes and skin that glistened like wet moss. She smelled faintly of pond water. "So, you're the Earth student?" she burbled, flipping through a holographic display above her webbed fingers. "Yes, I'm Mika," she said. "Mika Hargreaves. From Earth." Trill's eyes blinked rapidly. "Such an honor, very brave program. You'll be bunking with Zixel. Top of her class in xenotolerance." The door slid open to reveal Mika's new roommate, 6 limbs, a rainbow-hued exoskeleton, and a head dominated by multifaceted eyes. "Hi," Mika said, smiling. "I'm Mika. Guess we're roommates?" Zixel froze. All 6 limbs stiffened. A high-pitched whine emanated from somewhere in her thorax. "You're from Earth?" "Yes. Portland, Oregon. United States," Mika said. "I cannot room with a Deathworlder," Zixel squeaked, retreating into her hanging nest. Mika's jaw dropped. "Hey, what?" "Your species is hazardous," Miss Trill said uncomfortably. "Class 5 environmental hazard. Exposure to humans can cause contamination and trauma to sensitive species." "But I washed my hands," Mika protested weakly. "It is not hygiene," Trill replied. "It is what you represent. Earth is classified as a Class 5 death world. Extreme temperature, aggressive atmospheric composition, harmful radiation, active geology, abundant pathogens. Your species survives these conditions, remarkable but terrifying." Zixel was already packing for a formal transfer, muttering about parental orders and survival. Mika watched helplessly, feeling isolated in a galaxy where even her simple existence was considered dangerous. The next morning, Mika sat across from Mr. Yorn, her guidance counselor, a fuzzy, bat-like creature with 4 eyes and twitching nose. Unlike Plex, he wasn't shielded, but he gripped his desk as though it could protect him. "Your record from Earth is impressive," he said, peering through specialized goggles. "I was top of my class in science and math," Mika said proudly. "Yes, very commendable. However, educational standards vary for species from challenging environments. Humans prioritize survival over abstract reasoning." Mika flushed. "You mean I'm stupid?" "Not stupid. Different priorities. Your brain evolved to survive acid rain and predator attacks, not transdimensional calculus. Mika gritted her teeth. I got perfect scores on my Earth exams. Perfect, for your species, Yorn murmured, shuffling papers. You will start in remedial classes, to ensure foundational comprehension. Advancement is possible. By the time she left, Mika was seething, determined to prove her worth. She would show them what a Deathworlder could do. Her first class was Xenobiology 101 with Professor Zilk. The classroom was like an amphitheater crossed with an aquarium. A floating transparent sphere at the center pulsed gently with tentacles suspended in blue gel. A voice emanated from it. Welcome, students. Today we examine the galaxy's most dangerous environments and their evolutionary monstrosities. The holographic display zoomed in on Earth. One of 6 known Class 5 death worlds. Images cycled rapidly: Death Valley's cracked soil, Everest's icy summit, the Mariana Trench's crushing darkness. Apex predators, great white sharks, tigers, Komodo dragons. Finally, a human figure appeared. Humans, Zilk's voice rose in pitch. Conquerors of a death world, not through strength but endurance, adaptability, and cooperation. All eyes turned toward Mika. Whispers rippled through the room. Monster, nightmare, survivalist. Who can identify Earth's most lethal natural environment? Suggestions came: deep ocean, polar regions, deserts. Mika finally raised her hand. Deserts. The Sahara can reach 136 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and drop below freezing at night. Extreme sandstorms and intense UV radiation. Silence fell. Even Zilk's tentacles twitched in agitation. And have you personally experienced such environments? The professor asked. I've hiked the Sonoran Desert since I was 8. Beautiful when the cacti bloom, Mika said calmly. The room gasped. One gelatinous student fainted. Another slid off the bench. The average alien was stunned. A human survives extremes that would kill them instantly. After class, Mika sat alone, feeling both pride and isolation. Then a small furry alien approached. Oversized eyes, twitching whiskers. I'm Maz. Mind if I sit? I have so many questions about Earth. Sure, Mika said, surprised. Maz's curiosity was genuine. He asked about tornadoes, microbiomes, thunderstorms, and hot chili peppers. Mika found herself smiling, explaining things she'd never thought remarkable. For the first time since arriving, she felt a connection, not fear but fascination. Next week, Maz said, the Xenobiology Club is going to Lunx 3. A moon with floating spore forests and caves. You should come. Mika's heart lifted. Someone didn't see her as a danger, they saw her as valuable. The first day at GP ended with Mika realizing something profound. Her environment had shaped her. Not just her knowledge, but her adaptability, endurance, and composure under pressure. Even in a galaxy where humans were considered terrifying, she was beginning to understand that survival, Earth-style, was extraordinary. The morning air on Lunx 3 was electric, literally. The planet's magnetic storms shimmered across the horizon, sending streaks of violet and green across the sky. Mika adjusted her protective visor, noting the strange floating spores that glowed faintly in the darkness. The spores pulsed rhythmically, almost as if the planet itself were breathing. Stay close, students, Professor Zilk instructed, his voice amplified through small drones hovering near each of them. Lunx 3 is beautiful, but unforgiving. One misstep, one uncalculated move, and you'll be lucky if you return with all your limbs intact. Mika's pulse quickened. This was her first field assignment, and already she noticed the subtle tension among the other students. Many of them weren't even native to planets with breathable oxygen. Their suits compensated for that, but their movements were stiff, uncertain. Zixel glared at Mika from a distance, 6 limbs curling in irritation. Stay in your bubble, human, she hissed. You'll attract the spore's attention. Mika ignored her, scanning the terrain. The floating spores shimmered in vibrant colors, blue, purple, yellow, but there were darker spores too, almost black, that clung to the planet's surface. Every living being in her peripheral vision seemed to avoid them instinctively. Professor Zilk gestured toward a massive chasm cutting through the spore forest. Your objective is simple. Traverse the spore field, collect 1 specimen of each major spore type and return to base. Remember, these spores react to both physical and chemical stimuli. Use your wits. A low murmur spread across the student body. Some creatures had 10 arms, some were amorphous, and a few hovered in the air like living clouds, but almost all of them froze at the first dark spore they saw. Mika stepped forward. The ground beneath her was spongy and luminescent. She exhaled slowly. Humans thrived on unpredictability. This was just another environment to learn, adapt, and overcome. The first spore she encountered was harmless, a small, pulsating orb that floated just above the ground. Her hands shook slightly as she carefully extended a collection tube. The moment she touched it, the spore clung to her gloves, glowing brighter. "Careful," one student squeaked. "They'll react to your body heat." Mika smiled faintly. "Body heat? That's nothing." She adjusted her gloves, and the spore detached slowly, harmlessly into her tube. The next spore was more dangerous, a black, jagged cluster that emitted a faint hissing noise. As soon as Mika approached, it lunged upward, releasing a cloud of microscopic, acidic spores into the air. Other students shrieked, retreating in panic. Mika instinctively rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the acidic mist. Her lungs burned, her suit hissed warnings, but she stayed calm. Her training on Earth had included extreme environmental hazards: volcanoes, deserts, chemical spills. Survival was instinct, not fear. She scanned the terrain and noticed a pattern. The black spores reacted to sudden movement but were slow to adjust to quiet, calculated motions. She crouched, advanced slowly, and used a leaf-like tool to collect a portion of the spore cluster. Other students were too terrified to even approach, their eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible!" Zixel shouted, though Mika barely heard her. Halfway through the forest, a massive shadow fell over the group. A Luanshin predator, 6 meters tall, with translucent wings and jagged, crystalline claws, landed between them and the chasm exit. Its eyes, 4 of them each a different color, focused on Mika immediately. The other students froze. Many of them emitted high-pitched alarm signals, incompatible with human ears. Panic rippled through the group. Mika's heart raced, but her training kicked in. Humans had survived predators larger and faster than themselves through intelligence, teamwork, and improvisation. She scanned the environment and spotted a patch of spores that emitted a bright, white light when disturbed. She sprinted toward it, careful to stay low. The predator lunged, claws scraping the luminescent ground, but Mika had calculated the trajectory. She kicked a spore cluster toward it, and a blinding flash erupted as the predator recoiled, screeching. Other students gasped. Zixel's multiple limbs twitched uncontrollably. Mika took the opportunity to dart past the predator, using natural terrain features to hide. Her lungs burned, but adrenaline sharpened her senses. She felt alive. By the time she reached the chasm, she was the only one in the group carrying a complete set of spores. The others had abandoned their objectives in terror. Back at the base, Professor Zilk inspected her collection. His tentacles twitched in surprise. "Remarkable," he muttered. "You not only survived Lunx 3, you adapted to its threats in real time. None of your classmates demonstrated this resilience." Mika shrugged. "I've had practice." "Practice?" he asked, his tone curious. "Earth. Our planet is difficult. Extreme weather, dangerous terrain, predators. My species has to adapt or die. That's kind of our standard operating procedure." A low murmur swept through the assembly. Even Zixel looked genuinely startled, her multiple eyes blinking rapidly. Professor Zilk raised a tentacle to quiet the students. "What you have just witnessed is an example of human survival instinct at its finest. Adaptability, calm under stress, rapid pattern recognition. These qualities are rare in the galaxy. Humans may be dangerous, but they are also extraordinary." Mika felt a strange mix of pride and vindication. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was proving her species' worth in a universe that saw humans as terrifying anomalies. After the field exercise, Maz bounded up to her. His whiskers twitched with excitement. You were amazing. How did you even think to use the spores as a light trap for the predator?" "Instinct," Mika said lightly, trying not to seem boastful. "It's like predicting how the environment will react. You watch, you think, then act. Humans just do it naturally sometimes." Maz's eyes widened. "I want to learn that. Can you teach me?" Mika smiled. "Sure. But first, let's survive the rest of the semester." As night fell on Lunx 3, the students returned to their habitats. The glowing spores reflected in Mika's visor, casting eerie shadows. She lay on her bunk thinking about the day. This was only the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humans, labeling them as hazards, monsters, and deathworlders. But Mika knew something they didn't. Survival wasn't just about strength or alien technology, it was about adaptability, intelligence, and the refusal to give up. The hum of the habitat settled into a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Mika closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of Lunks 3 beneath her. Tomorrow the challenges would be even greater. And she would be ready. The following morning, the interior of the Intergalactic Academy's Central Hall was alive with movement and sound. Alien students of every imaginable shape, size, and color drifted, slithered, and floated through the vast chamber, carrying data tablets, biosamples, or energy pods. Above them, the ceiling was a living sky of shifting holographic constellations, showing the positions of uncharted systems, pulsars, and nebulae. Mika entered cautiously, adjusting the straps on her field suit. Her legs felt stiff from the previous day's run through Lunks 3, but her mind was alert. Today's challenge was entirely different. Professor Zilk's voice echoed across the hall, amplified through invisible sound waves. Today's exercise is a classroom gauntlet. Each of you will face a series of tests designed to measure cognitive reasoning, creativity, and adaptive problem-solving. Your goal is simple: demonstrate your species' ability to innovate under pressure. Mika's heart sank slightly. Tests inside the classroom were more than just intellectual, they were social. And alien classmates weren't just competing for grades. Many considered humans inferior, prone to emotional reactions and primitive instincts. As the students assembled in groups, Mika noticed Zixel gliding toward her. "You again," she hissed, her 6 arms flexing menacingly. "I thought the field test was luck. But you actually survived. Don't get cocky, human." Mika's smile was calm, almost casual. "Survival isn't luck. It's understanding your environment and acting accordingly. Maybe you'll try it sometime." Zixel bristled and stalked away, but Mika could see the flicker of doubt in her multifaceted eyes. The first station of the gauntlet was a simulated alien ecosystem, projected into the floor as a 3D hologram. Students were tasked with identifying unstable biomes and correcting their balance before it collapsed. Mika crouched over the holographic terrain, her human eyes scanning patterns others seemed to miss. Some areas had temperature fluctuations too subtle for most alien senses. Others showed subtle chemical imbalances that, if unchecked, would trigger catastrophic chain reactions. Maz hovered near her, whispering, "I don't get it. Everyone else is panicking." "Panicking doesn't help," Mika said. "The hologram reacts to logic and timing, not fear. Watch and learn." Using a series of precise gestures on the holographic interface, Mika corrected the ecosystem. A holographic geyser stabilized, fluorescent plants stopped decaying, and the energy flow across the simulated planet returned to equilibrium. Other students gasped. Even Zixel paused, her tentacles trembling slightly. Professor Zilk's voice resonated again. "Remarkable. Human adaptability extends beyond the physical realm into cognitive pattern recognition. Few species can correct a failing ecosystem in real time without prior experience." Mika's chest swelled with pride, but she didn't relax. The next challenge was approaching. The second station involved the creation of a propulsion algorithm for a hypothetical spacecraft designed to escape a collapsing star system. Alien students typed frantically on quantum interfaces, their methods precise but rigid. Many relied on memorized formulas and previous simulations, confident in established protocols. Mika approached the interface taking a deep breath. Humans didn't always have the most advanced tech, but they had imagination and intuition. She discarded the standard approach and started building a hybrid algorithm, combining probabilistic calculations with real-time adaptive feedback loops. The interface blinked and hummed. Red warnings flashed, initially indicating failure. But Mika adjusted parameters dynamically, compensating for fluctuations in gravitational fields and energy output. Slowly the interface turned green, then gold. A holographic ship emerged, launching safely from the simulated star system with perfect trajectory. Cheers erupted from a few human and alien spectators. Zixel's tentacles quivered in disbelief. "You cheated," she spat. "No one has ever done that." "Not cheating," Mika said, shrugging. "Just thinking differently." Professor Zilk clapped his tentacles together. Humans consistently display lateral thinking, combining experience, intuition, and innovation in ways other species rarely attempt. This is why humans are both feared and respected across galaxies. Mika felt a strange thrill. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving alien expectations, she was redefining them. The final station of the gauntlet was the most brutal, a logic puzzle intertwined with environmental hazards. Students entered a large chamber filled with shifting platforms suspended over a holographic abyss. Each step required solving a complex problem. Incorrect answers triggered traps or environmental hazards. Many alien students hesitated, calculating risk to the nth degree. Some tried to brute force the puzzles, falling into holographic lava pits or being propelled into air currents. Panic rippled through the chamber. Mika stepped forward calmly. Humans weren't always the fastest or the strongest, but they were persistent. She analyzed each puzzle sequentially, ignoring distractions and focusing on pattern recognition. She noticed something the others didn't. Each puzzle had a predictable anomaly, a subtle environmental cue indicating the correct solution. Step by step, Mika advanced. Lava pools receded, platforms stabilized, and by the time she reached the final puzzle, most alien students had retreated in fear or failed entirely. The final puzzle projected an ancient code, a sequence of symbols and energy patterns from a long-extinct civilization. Aliens struggled, unable to interpret the subtle variations. Mika leaned forward, tracing the symbols with her fingers. Intuition, she thought. Pattern recognition and instinct. Within moments, the sequence resolved, unlocking a bridge over the holographic abyss. Mika walked across it, the chamber erupting in applause from students and observers alike. Zixel's 6 arms twitched uncontrollably, her face a mask of disbelief. Professor Zilk floated to her side. You have proven something remarkable today, Mika. Humans are underestimated not because of weakness, but because their methods are unconventional. Their success is a combination of courage, innovation, and adaptability, qualities few species possess in such concentrated form. Mika smiled, but deep inside she felt a fire igniting. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. Now she had the proof, and she intended to keep proving it. After the gauntlet, students gathered in the hall. Many aliens whispered about Mika, some with admiration, others with envy. Zixel approached her one final time. This isn't over, she hissed. Humans are dangerous. You'll see that I'll surpass you. Mika's eyes met hers evenly. If you keep underestimating us, maybe you'll learn the hard way, just like the rest of the galaxy. As the students dispersed, Maz hovered beside Mika. You were amazing. Everyone's talking about you. Mika laughed softly. It's not about the talking. It's about what happens next. The galaxy is full of challenges. If we survive today, we survive tomorrow. And humans, we don't just survive. We adapt, we evolve, and we excel. That night, Mika lay in her bunk, staring at the starfield projected across the ceiling. A faint vibration pulsed through the room, the rhythm of an entire galaxy. Somewhere out there, countless species had doubted humans. And somewhere out there, the next challenge was already forming. But Mika didn't fear it. Humans thrived on adversity. Humans thrived on the impossible. And Mika, like her ancestors, had the instinct to survive and the ingenuity to triumph. For the first time in her life, she felt the truth settle deep inside her. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and it was about to learn their strength. The announcement echoed through the Intergalactic Academy's Grand Hall. All cadets assigned to the Reconnaissance Initiative report to Docking Bay 7 immediately. This is a real mission, not a simulation. Mika's heart jumped. After proving herself in the gauntlet, she knew this was the next test, far beyond the controlled challenges of the classroom. The Reconnaissance Initiative was infamous across the galaxy for being lethal. Many species had failed, or never returned. Maz floated beside her, nerves showing in the way his luminescent wings flickered. You're actually going out there? Outside the academy? Real space. Mika nodded. It's the only way to truly prove ourselves. The academy teaches theory, but the galaxy teaches reality. Zixel approached, her form tense. I'll see you fail, human. The first mission is always too much for species like yours. Emotion clouds judgment. Mika only smiled. Then watch carefully. Emotion can be a strength if you know how to use it. Docking Bay 7 was a massive chamber, walls lined with sleek starships of every design imaginable. Mika's assigned vessel was small but advanced, a reconnaissance frigate named the Pathfinder. Its hull was silver-black, adaptive to environmental conditions, and designed for stealth operations in hostile systems. The mission briefing projected above the deck. A previously charted system, Zytheria 9, had gone silent. Communications had ceased, and sensor readings suggested extreme anomalies, energy surges inconsistent with known physics. The initiative's task: investigate, gather data, and return alive. Mika ran her hands along the control panels, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship's power core. Humans didn't have the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but what they lacked in raw sophistication, they compensated for with adaptability. As the Pathfinder lifted from the dock, Mika couldn't help noticing the other cadets whispering. Many species were curious, some skeptical. The human actually made it this far, murmured a multi-limbed alien beside her. Bold, foolish, dangerous. Mika ignored them. Boldness had a purpose: survival. The journey to Zytheria 9 was smooth at first. Stars streaked past the viewport as the Pathfinder sliced through hyperspace. But as they approached the system, instruments began reacting unpredictably. Sensor readings fluctuated wildly, energy spikes erupted without warning, and the ship's hull creaked under unusual gravitational distortions. Mika studied the displays. These readings aren't errors. They're patterns. Look here. She pointed to a sequence of energy spikes forming a repeating wave. It's a resonance. If we synchronize our shields with it, we can pass safely. If not, Maz's wings shivered. Or what? Or we become another lost record in the initiative's history, Mika said grimly. With steady hands she adjusted the shield frequency, timing the pulses to the energy waves. The ship shuddered violently but held together. One by one the dangerous spikes passed, and the frigate emerged intact into orbit around Zytheria 9. Maz stared awestruck. I can't believe it. Everyone else would have panicked and failed. Mika only said, "That's humans. We see problems and find solutions." Orbiting the planet, sensors revealed the source of the anomalies. The planet's core was unstable, generating energy fluctuations that defied conventional physics. But something else caught Mika's attention: traces of artificial structures beneath the surface. Buildings, docking bays, abandoned but unmistakably engineered. Zixel's voice crackled over comms. "You're wasting time, human. Nothing useful is down there. Just scan and leave." Mika's fingers hovered over the controls. Sometimes the obvious solution isn't the right one. Humans explore where others won't. That's how we survive and thrive. Deploying a stealth probe, Mika scanned the structures. Data streamed back. The planet had been home to a civilization capable of manipulating energy at a planetary scale, but now it was silent. Evidence suggested a catastrophic event, possibly caused by their own experiments. Suddenly an alert blared. A gravitational anomaly formed, pulling the probe, and potentially the Pathfinder, toward the planet. "Hold on," Mika shouted, her mind racing. No alien protocols covered this exact scenario. Most cadets would have panicked, running evasive maneuvers or abandoning the probe. But Mika did something unexpected. She calculated the anomaly's rotational patterns and used it to slingshot the probe, harnessing its pull instead of resisting it. The probe's instruments stabilized, and data continued streaming. The Pathfinder remained steady, the gravitational pull neutralized through precise counterthrusts. Maz gaped. That was genius. Mika only exhaled. Or instinct. Humans often use problems as tools rather than obstacles. Landing on Zytheria 9's surface was treacherous. The ground was fractured, emitting energy surges with each step. Mika guided the landing carefully, touching down near the remnants of a large docking facility. Outside, the alien sky shimmered with auroras of volatile energy. Structures, though damaged, were vast and complex. Mika led the small team through corridors cracked by seismic activity. Each step required balance, calculation, and quick thinking to avoid falling into fissures or triggering dormant energy traps. It was here Mika's human ingenuity shone brightest. Where alien cadets relied on heavy sensors or rigid calculations, Mika observed, adapted, and improvised. She used reflective panels to redirect energy pulses safely, adjusted shields dynamically to absorb sudden discharges, and guided the team through paths the instruments couldn't detect. Hours passed, each step bringing new hazards and discoveries. They found archives of the ancient civilization, records showing attempts to stabilize their core, but ultimately failing. A haunting message repeated across damaged data terminals: innovation without restraint leads to ruin. Mika read silently. Humans had faced similar warnings in their own history: wars, pandemics, and natural disasters, but they survived. Adaptation was not just survival, it was evolution. The mission's climax came when a sudden tremor triggered a collapse of the central structure. Debris fell, fissures opened, and energy spikes threatened to overwhelm them. Most alien cadets froze, but Mika acted. She scanned the terrain and improvised a series of jumps, using debris as stepping stones. She calculated distances instinctively, timing each leap perfectly. Maz followed, trusting Mika completely. Others hesitated, falling behind. Reaching a high platform, Mika spotted the main data core, intact but exposed to the unstable energy. She accessed the core, downloading critical planetary data onto a portable drive while dodging energy pulses. Just as the final segment of data transferred, a massive surge threatened to engulf the platform. Mika leaped to the exit hatch, tucking the drive safely under her arm. The team scrambled after her as the facility collapsed behind them, the entire planet trembling. The Pathfinder lifted off just in time, leaving the crumbling world behind. The silence of space engulfed them. Maz whispered, awestruck, "I've never seen anything like that. Humans, you just turned certain death into survival." Mika only said quietly, "Humans don't just survive. We adapt. We improvise. We rise when others fall." Returning to the academy, Mika was met with stunned silence. Professor Zilk floated before her, tentacles folded respectfully. "Remarkable. Where others would have perished, humans thrived. Your species demonstrates a capacity for innovation and courage unparalleled among cadets at this stage." Zixel approached, her form tense but her eyes avoiding direct contact. "This doesn't end here, human. We'll see who truly dominates the galaxy." Mika met her gaze evenly. "Then we'll see. But remember this, humans survive where others fail not because we're stronger, faster, or smarter, but because we refuse to quit." As Mika stepped away, she knew the galaxy was changing. The ancient civilizations of Zytheria 9 had fallen due to rigidity and hubris. Humans, with their adaptability and ingenuity, were rising. And Mika, one cadet among millions, was proof that the underestimated species could reshape the galaxy's understanding of strength. That night, lying in her bunk, she held the drive with the planetary data. Somewhere out there, countless systems awaited exploration, countless challenges awaited solution. And Mika, human to the core, was ready. The galaxy had underestimated humans. It would never do so again. The moment the Pathfinder docked back at the Intergalactic Academy, Mika sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Cadets whispered as she passed, some in admiration, some in disbelief. Word of her success on Zytheria 9 had spread faster than the hyperdrive pulse, carried through data networks and neural links. Maz floated beside her, still wide-eyed. "Do you realize what you've done? The Council's talking about you. Every species knows your name now." Mika only shrugged. "I did what had to be done. The mission was successful, the data saved, and the team survived. That's enough for me." But the galaxy had already decided otherwise. Mika's human adaptability, the ability to improvise and survive where advanced alien cadets had failed, had made her a symbol. A symbol of a species the other civilizations had underestimated for centuries. The Academy's main hall was filled with the Reconnaissance Initiative Council, a panel of representatives from multiple advanced civilizations. The Council's chair, an elongated being with shifting skin tones, addressed Mika directly. "Human," it said, voice resonating through the hall, "your performance on Zytheria 9 has exceeded expectations. Your species demonstrates qualities, unique resourcefulness, courage, and adaptability that rival many of our veteran cadets." Zixel, standing among the other cadets, scowled. "Unique does not mean superior. Luck may have favored the human this time." Mika stepped forward, meeting Zixel's gaze evenly. "It wasn't luck. Every decision, every calculation, every leap, it was all deliberate. Humans adapt to survive. That's what you call luck, we call it life." The Council murmured. They had seen other species attempt improvisation in the field, rarely successfully. Humans, however, seemed to thrive in chaos. It was unnerving, and some representatives were already whispering of potential threats. Days after her return, Mika was summoned for a special debriefing with the Galactic Intelligence Directorate. The briefing room was stark, lined with holographic maps of volatile star systems, and dominated by a large projection of Zytheria 9. "Your mission has been reviewed in detail," said Director Star, a crystalline entity whose body refracted light into spectral patterns. "You did what was previously considered impossible. The planet's energy core, unstable for centuries, should have destroyed any team attempting a landing. Yet you not only survived, you extracted usable data." Mika leaned against the console, calm but alert. "The data is stable and fully documented. Analysis will allow safe energy extraction from similar systems in the future, potentially saving lives and resources." Star's light patterns flickered faster, a sign of excitement or curiosity. "We've observed a pattern in human behavior, a tendency to think outside rigid protocol, to exploit variables others would avoid. This makes humans highly effective in unpredictable scenarios." Maz, hovering behind her, whispered nervously, "Effective or dangerous?" Mika didn't respond. She already understood the unspoken truth. Humans were being watched, studied, and evaluated for their potential, and their threat. News of Mika's success spread across multiple star systems. The Pathfinder's reports, combined with her tactics, became case studies in survival schools and military academies. Some alien factions, particularly the more rigidly logical ones, expressed unease. Humans were unpredictable. Humans didn't rely solely on advanced tech, they relied on ingenuity. One faction, the Terran Collective, sent an envoy to the Academy. A towering figure with metallic exoskeleton and glowing optics, it addressed Mika directly. "You are a human, correct? We have studied your mission. You exceeded all expectations." "Yes," Mika replied. "I followed the mission objectives and adapted when circumstances required it." The envoy's optics narrowed. "Your species is concerning. Adaptability, resourcefulness, and resilience, traits that could destabilize established interstellar protocols. The galaxy will need to monitor humans closely." Mika smirked. "Or perhaps the galaxy will need to catch up." Meanwhile, Zixel's hostility escalated. The alien cadet's jealousy and disbelief hardened into something more strategic. She began organizing a group of elite cadets to study human patterns, hoping to exploit perceived weaknesses. Mika noticed this during training. The alien group often followed her exercises, copying maneuvers but lacking improvisation. They executed movements perfectly when controlled, but faltered under unpredictability, a flaw Mika had learned to exploit. One day, during a combat simulation, Zixel's team attempted an ambush, expecting Mika to follow predictable escape routes. Mika paused, observing the pattern of their attack, then executed a maneuver entirely unrecorded in simulation manuals. She leaped, vaulted, and redirected their momentum using environmental features, panels, energy conduits, and structural supports. Within moments, she had neutralized their ambush. The holographic instructor paused the simulation. "Remarkable," the instructor said. "Your unpredictability, human, is unmatched among cadets." Mika smiled faintly, knowing that her species' greatest advantage lay in creativity under pressure, not brute strength or raw computation. The real test came unexpectedly. Weeks after the Zytheria 9 mission, the Academy received a distress call from a research station on the edge of a dangerous nebula. A rival alien faction, the Krantari, had initiated an unsanctioned survey, triggering environmental instability. The station's personnel were trapped. The Council immediately assigned Mika and a select team to lead the rescue. "This mission will be dangerous," the Council warned. "The nebula's energy fluctuations are unlike anything catalogued. Your improvisational skills will be crucial." Mika nodded. "Then we go prepared for anything the nebula throws at us." As the Pathfinder approached the nebula, instruments flickered uncontrollably. Dense energy clouds swirled, creating gravitational eddies and ion storms that could tear ships apart. Most cadets froze, uncertain how to navigate the chaos. Mika observed patterns in the turbulence. "We don't fight the nebula. We move with it. Follow me closely." Using a combination of shield modulation, thruster synchronization, and real-time calculations, Mika guided the ship through the storm. Lightning-like energy arcs danced around the vessel, yet she moved as if the nebula itself obeyed her intuition. Maz, gripping a console, whispered, "I can't believe this. Humans are bending space itself with their thinking." Mika only focused on the path ahead. Survival required precision, creativity, and courage. The research station appeared in a clearing of relative calm. The crew, stranded and frightened, greeted Mika with relief. The docking maneuver was delicate, the station's stabilizers were failing, and the nebula's currents threatened to rip the ship apart. Once again Mika improvised. She calculated a trajectory that used the nebula's own gravitational eddies as a buffer, allowing a smooth approach without collision. Her team followed her commands flawlessly. Inside the station she coordinated the evacuation. Maz assisted, but Mika's insight kept everyone moving efficiently. Even the Krantari surveyors, initially hostile, recognized the human's superior problem-solving skills and refrained from interference. By the time the Pathfinder exited the nebula, every crew member had been rescued, and the nebula's patterns mapped for future safe travel. Back at the Academy, Mika was no longer just a cadet. She had become a symbol, proof that humans, though technologically inferior in some areas, could achieve the impossible through adaptation, courage, and ingenuity. Director Starr acknowledged her with a rare display of respect. Human, your species demonstrates a potential previously underestimated. The galaxy may need to reconsider long-held assumptions about power, survival, and intelligence. Mika smiled. Humans don't just survive. We rise when circumstances push us to the edge. And we never stop thinking. Zixel, watching from afar, clenched her fists. She realized that outsmarting a human wasn't a matter of technology, it was a matter of unpredictability, creativity, and the relentless drive to adapt. The galaxy had taken notice, and the humans, through Mika's example, were no longer the underestimated species. For the first time, Mika understood the weight of what she represented, not just one cadet's success, but the rise of humanity as a force the galaxy would have to reckon with. As she prepared for the next mission, she reflected quietly. Challenges would grow, rivals would become stronger, and threats would multiply. But humans had a unique advantage. They learned, adapted, and innovated, and no anomaly, no enemy, and no ancient power could stop that. The rise of human ingenuity had begun, and Mika was at its forefront. The galaxy had changed. It wasn't sudden, nor was it violent. It was subtle at first. Whispers in the halls of councils, careful reconsideration in the strategies of alien fleets, and cautious observation of the human cadets at the Intergalactic Academy. Mika, now a symbol of human ingenuity, had become the face of this transformation. But with recognition came challenge. The Krantari, still smarting from their near defeat at the Nebula rescue, were plotting a move. Zixel, unwilling to accept that humans could outthink her species, had aligned herself with the Krantari intelligence network. Their plan was simple: eliminate the unpredictable human element before it could destabilize the balance of power in the galaxy. Mika was unaware. She focused on the next mission, a joint exploration of the Veil Cluster, a region of star systems shrouded in mysterious gravitational anomalies. The mission was supposed to be routine reconnaissance, but anomalies in the Veil Cluster were known to tear ships apart in moments. Even the most advanced navigational algorithms had failed. "This cluster is a trap," Maz warned, scanning the preliminary data. "No one has come back intact." "That's why we go prepared," Mika said, adjusting the interface on the Pathfinder. "The unknown is only terrifying if you let it control you. Humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans thrive." Maz shook his head, a mixture of admiration and fear in his eyes. "And apparently humans terrify everyone else in the galaxy too." As they approached the Veil Cluster, anomalies appeared almost immediately: swirling gravity wells, bursts of ionized gas, and temporal distortions that made instrumentation unreliable. Most of the cadets hesitated, but Mika calmly directed the ship through the chaos, using a combination of instinct, calculated risk, and environmental improvisation. Suddenly, the fleet sensors detected an unknown vessel. Its design was unlike anything in the standard galactic registry: sleek, angular, and cloaked in adaptive camouflage. The Krantari had arrived. Zixel's voice came through the comms, cold and precise. "Human, you have been overestimated. Today we correct that mistake." Mika tightened her grip on the console. Underestimating humans is always a mistake. The Krantari vessel struck first, firing directed energy pulses that disabled the shields of the Pathfinder. Mika's team scrambled, but she quickly assessed the situation. The ship's attack pattern was predictable, relying on repeated energy bursts with short charging intervals. Humans had a saying: predictable chaos is not chaos. Using the cluster's gravitational anomalies, Mika executed a daring maneuver. The Pathfinder looped around a massive energy vortex, using its pull to accelerate past the Krantari ship and strike its exposed hull with an improvised energy pulse. The attack forced the vessel into evasive action, buying her team precious seconds. Maz stared in disbelief. "You're actually using the nebula, or the cluster, as a weapon?" Mika smirked. "Improvisation, Maz. Always improvisation." But the Krantari had underestimated human resolve. Zixel, furious at Mika's maneuver, initiated a boarding sequence. Within moments, energy beams tore through the hull, opening a path for Krantari soldiers. Mika didn't panic. She led her team into the corridors, turning the station's compact, maze-like structure to her advantage. Humans excelled in tight spaces, improvising traps and tactics on the fly. She used magnetic clamps, emergency pressure valves, and even the ship's gravity modulation to neutralize attackers one by one. Every move was calculated yet unpredictable. Every action, a testament to the human advantage: adaptability under pressure. Outside the ship, the fleet witnessed something unprecedented. Small clusters of human cadets coordinated with Mika, using the environment, improvised drones and auxiliary ships to outmaneuver the Krantari fleet. Their movements were chaotic, but in that chaos there was logic, strategy and intuition. Alien admirals watched with disbelief. Humans didn't just follow protocols, they created new ones in the middle of battle. One Krantari admiral, observing the fight through a tactical viewport, muttered, "They are impossible to anticipate." Mika knew the fight was only partially about tactics, it was psychological. Humans, she realized, thrived when underestimated. The Krantari had expected predictable reactions. They hadn't accounted for human unpredictability combined with relentless determination. As the battle reached its climax, Mika faced Zixel directly in the ship's command corridor. Zixel fired a plasma blade, and Mika dodged instinctively, using the corridor's magnetic field to swing past her opponent. "You could have been brilliant," Zixel hissed. "But you're just human." Mika smiled, adjusting her stance. "And humans always find a way." In one swift motion, Mika disarmed Zixel using a combination of leverage and environmental manipulation. She didn't kill her. Humans had a principle: survival, ingenuity, and mercy. Zixel was incapacitated, but alive, forced to witness what she could not understand. Human adaptability was more powerful than any weapon. By the end of the engagement, the Krantari retreating fleet had suffered significant losses. The Veil cluster, once considered a dangerous anomaly, became mapped and understood thanks to the human-led improvisation. When the dust settled, Mika and her team returned to the Intergalactic Academy, hailed as heroes not just for their courage but for redefining what a single species could achieve in the galaxy. The Council convened an unprecedented assembly to discuss the human role in interstellar affairs. "Humans are unlike any species we have encountered," Director Starr announced. "They are adaptable, courageous, and relentless. The galaxy must consider that their potential far exceeds what we assumed. We must not underestimate them again." Mika stood silently, knowing that her species' journey had only begun. Humans had arrived, not as conquerors but as innovators, problem-solvers, and catalysts for change. Later, alone in the Academy Observatory, Mika gazed at the stars. Maz hovered beside her. "You've changed everything," Maz said softly. "The galaxy will never be the same." Mika nodded. "Humans are like that. We adapt, we endure, and we inspire. And sometimes, we surprise even ourselves." Maz chuckled nervously. "I think I'm starting to see why the galaxy is afraid of humans." Mika smiled faintly. "It's not fear they should have, it's respect. We don't rely on power alone. We rely on ourselves. And that makes all the difference." As the twin suns of the Academy's planet set, Mika realized a truth she had felt all along: humanity's strength wasn't just in their technology or intelligence. It was in their spirit, their ingenuity, and their unbreakable will to rise above any challenge. The galaxy had taken notice. The humans had arrived. And from this moment forward, no civilization could claim superiority without first acknowledging the unpredictable, unstoppable force that humanity represented.